Would you look at this? A mainstream outlet defends Gina Carano and says Disney made a mistake. It's all in the title. Disney's firing of Gina Carano is confusing and hypocritical, lacking sound management. Woo. Woo, that is a big shot at Disney and Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, which, you'd think you would see more. You think you would see more of this because, well, for one, Star Wars is a disaster. Every decision that they've made, other than The Mandalorian, not saying, I'm just talking as the way the show has been ran up until now, at least, has been terrible. And the backlash that Disney has been receiving from firing Gina Carano has not calmed down. In fact, here's their latest video on their channel from March 11th. As you can see, it's at 13,000 downvotes to 1.5 upvotes. And this hasn't changed in weeks. Every single video that they post on this channel gets downvoted into oblivion. It's the only way that the fans can voice their frustration. And Disney's response to this is to double down. I talked about this in a video yesterday with Bear Grylls. I think that's how you say his last name. His show about surviving in the wilderness featured Gina Carano, but Disney decided to shelve that episode. And they didn't think people would notice that, especially right now. So that's their response to continue to double down on this stuff. That just happened yesterday, or at least that's when people found out about it. I don't know if anybody's even seen that episode, but that's what's going on right now. So they have learned nothing. The real test on all this will be to see how this affects The Bad Batch, which comes out pretty soon, I think. So how does this carry over into a new release for a Star Wars product? It's going to be interesting to see if it carries over at all. But every time I post something about this, I see people post, "Well, it's closed." And I don't blame anybody taking that stance. So Forbes here saying, look, you can't do this. This is a dumb move. It's hypocritical. They talk about Pedro Pascal, who posted something very similar to what Gina Carano had said and posted online, except they point out that Pedro Pascal's was through a liberal lens, and therefore he was not fired. But Gina Carano, who's conservative, was fired for posting something, that's similar. And I agree. Everyone's posted that out, but it's not everyone's pointed that out. And it's nice to see a mainstream article with some common sense, right? Like, no one's really talked about this at all. All of these cancel sites in the mainstream media that talk about this firing always skip over that. They ignore it, ignoring facts. I mean, come on. And they just let it go. Now, the only criticism I have of this article is Gene waited a long time to post it. Now, he says in the first paragraph here, I've been sitting on this article for a while, allowing my opinion to form. That's something that many companies don't do enough of these days. Instead, they often rush to conclusions too fast, yielding to the views of a few vocal members of the community rather than allowing time and consideration to inform decisions, which is a true statement. But also, it's kind of true that she waited until the last minute to put this article out. Like, not the last minute, but more so that the controversy, at least for the mob, has kind of calmed down. But then did it calm down? Because I went to check this man's Twitter because I was going to follow him because he seems to like common sense. And his account is gone. And I was kind of shocked to see that. Why is his account gone? Not suspended, just doesn't exist. And this was only a few days ago. This article was published on March 11th. It is right now March 17th, and his account is gone. So I wonder if he was harassed by the mob for posting this take. It's not a take that they appreciate, common sense take, defending Gina Carano. This isn't something that they're going to stand by. Now, because this account just doesn't exist, he can reactivate it anytime he wants. It wasn't suspended. So he can bring this account back. Whether or not he will, I don't know. But it's interesting that it doesn't exist, especially when a few days ago, he's asking you to follow him on Twitter right here. The Twitter account's just gone now. So I wonder if he was ran offline by the mob. I don't know. I can't say because there's nothing to say that he was. I looked up his name on Twitter and I saw a few posts, and there were a few people, talking about Gina. Mob didn't seem very happy with his opinion here, which defends her all the way through, by the way. It's a pretty good article. I'm not going to read it word for word. Just goes over what everybody knows. We've talked about it every day just about. But he basically says, organizations need a more thoughtful system, not a knee-jerk reaction to guide decisions regarding who gets fired. They need to specify what constitutes the most egregious offenses, and it needs to be transparent and not hidden and vague and open to interpretation. It cannot be the decision of one person, but should be made by a group of people with varied views who apply a standard yardstick. They need to balance the right to free speech and social responsibility, and they need to take into account that simply the highly vocal individuals who are fast to complain, but mainstream audiences who need time to digest the situational nuances. Now, I agree with everything he said there. I think that that's a fine attitude. All companies have, a standard that you're supposed to, abide by. And the only problem is the group of people with varied views. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist, Gene. That just doesn't exist anymore. And I know you might think that it does, but it doesn't. Gene, I can't tell his age, but he seems like an older guy. Not knocking him for his age. I think he just thinks that, the systems are fair here in Hollywood, and that, there's people with varied views like it probably used to be, but nowadays it's nothing but one view, the left view. And if you don't agree with that view, well, they kick you out. I don't think you're going to find anybody with varied views. And while they are there, if they are there, they're not going to say that they have like a different perspective than a leftist perspective. They're going to hide it, because if they find out that this person is a conservative, they're going to probably fire him just like they did to Gina. So, not a bad dream. I like this article. I like that he had the balls to stand up and put it out in a world where this is kind of seen as a crazy article, defending something like this. He even points in here, puts the data saying that, 72% of people, when they saw the post that Gina was fired for, thought it was stupid that she was fired. Only 28% of people, I went over this poll, I've done a video on this poll, by the way, felt Disney was justified. Compare 28% to the majority. Okay, most people don't agree with that firing. And it's nice that he's covering this. So, great article. It was nice to see it. I really am curious if he got attacked on Twitter, because like I said, he's gone. And he was just asking you to follow him a few days ago. So I wonder, was he ran off? Now, don't run and say that he got kicked off of Twitter. He didn't get kicked off. And I don't want to say for sure that the mob kicked him off, but it's curious that he's gone. I think he probably got dogpiled and, chose to leave, which I don't blame him. I don't blame you, Gene. I don't blame you. Twitter's a crazy place. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think of mainstream outlets like Forbes actually defending Gina Carano? I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. My favorite part of this is lacking sound management. I think that is wonderful. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.